This week on The Real Deal, we're going to talk about bridesmaid suburbs and bridal suburbs. Now, there's that saying that you were always a bridesmaid, but never the bride. In other words, no one chose you as that beautiful woman, but you're always in support of the beautiful woman. And it's a little bit like that in real estate. Say, for example, you have a suburb that is actually a bridesmaid suburb. It hasn't quite had the glory and the light and had its moment under the sun yet. It's not to say that it may never happen, but that's a suburb that has what I call legs. In other words, it's still got some walking to do. It's still affordable, it's still coming into its own, and it has some good years of growth ahead of it. Now, none of us have the crystal ball, otherwise we would all have seen this year, 2020, and we would have done things a little bit differently. We wouldn't have booked those overseas holidays. We wouldn't have had those great big aspiring sporting goals that some of us have had, me included. So we've had to sort of adjust a little bit, but let's talk about the benefit of buying into one of these bridesmaid suburbs. So let's talk about a classic suburb in Brisbane, in the area that I work in, which is in demand. Let's talk about, say, Carindale. So you can't afford to buy in Carindale because you haven't got that budget. Where do you go? Well, the next suburb over is Belmont. And there's also pockets of Carindale that are cheaper than other pockets. You might have to go around the Meadowlands Road pocket of Carindale, all right, if you can't afford around the Fairways estate. You may go over to Belmont, and if you can't afford that, because even Belmont's getting pricey, you might have to move down to Tingalpa. Of course, you may also move to Carina, different style house, or Carina Heights, or maybe Mount Gravatt East. So there's certain suburbs which are certainly cheaper than other suburbs that are good to go shopping in if you haven't quite got that budget. Now, there's a lot of first home buyers and second home buyers that are desperately trying to get into the Camp Hill market, but with a budget of $700,000 to $750,000, there's so many of you probably even watching this that have that slight issue. Now, getting into Camp Hill on a budget like that's going to be very, very tough. First of all, you're probably going to have a very small house. You're probably going to have to spend a lot of money on the house to even get it livable, okay? On top of that, you've probably got perhaps some other issues with the land. Maybe it's not the best block of land. It could be being on a hill, Camp Hill. It could be a very hilly block. It could be difficult to do renovations there, or it may not be in such a good part of Camp Hill. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's going to be more difficult. So if you've got that tight budget, why not start looking in Carina Heights? Why not start looking in Carina? Why not start looking in other suburbs instead of just focusing and zooming in on that one suburb when there's so much competition, which is driving up prices in those suburbs to the point where you may not get the same growth of those suburbs that you may get if you go and seek a suburb outside of that immediate area you've been searching in. So yes, I think Carina's definitely got legs. Carina Heights also, if you can get in a nice street and there's stuff going on around you, even if there isn't, you'll get a lot more bang for your buck there. We're talking of a lot of change left over, and you can put that change into improving where you live, but you still get to enjoy good schools, good amenities, good medical amenities, good public transport, and all the things very close to what you would actually be getting if you bought in the area of your first preference. I think we have to be very, very smart right now with our money, and don't go and put yourself into extreme debt just to have a house. We saw a lot of people do this before the GFC. I ended up having to clean up a massive mess. There were that many divorces, broken marriages, mortgage stress. We had suicides, attempted suicides, horrible things going on because people put themselves into huge debt. I'm also really pleased to see that the banks have clamped up, and I think as a result, there's been a lot less mortgage stress this time around with COVID. We've also seen mortgage holidays and things have been a little bit easier. But I think the problem comes in when you've got a very ambitious person that has lofty goals that they really can't afford, trying to keep up with the Joneses. So just be really mindful of things changing in your life and your circumstances. And I'm really pleased to see so many first home buyers are a lot more conservative and a lot more sensible with their level of affordability, and also thanks to the bank, than they used to be. So just keep your budget in mind, maybe look further afield and start seeking out those bridesmaid suburbs. Have a wonderful weekend, and I hope to see you soon.